I wanted to try talking very briefly about hypergamy. I've avoided mentioning it because I know it's not going to make people happy, what I have to say, and I don't know, maybe it's time. When I first encountered the idea of hypergamy, it was during my very brief stint in college before I dropped out because I really hate college. And I was in a class where I didn't learn anything interesting at all, except very briefly we touched on the concept of hypergamy. And it was the old idea of hypergamy, the biologist's idea of hypergamy. So we had the little ladder, female, 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 male, 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 going all the way up. And males tended to mate across the ladder or down a step. Females tended to mate across the ladder or up a step. That was what we knew of hypergamy. That was what I knew of hypergamy. That was my introduction to the concept, and I thought it was very interesting because it made a lot of sense to me. People are usually going to go to about their own level when it comes to pairing off, if you have to pair off. And, women are generally going to aim a little bit higher, and men will be content to settle for someone a little bit lower. It just made sense to me. If I had to pick a partner, which I did have to pick a partner, would I want someone who was as intelligent as I was, more intelligent than I was, or less intelligent than I was? And fast forward not quite 10 years after college, I started encountering the idea of hypergamy as it is used in the vernacular today. The idea where you have the little ladder and you have the men going up one side and you have the women going up the other side. And men are content to mate, across the ladder, maybe down, maybe up a step. And women are all like shooting up to the top of the ladder and trying to pick from that top 20 or 25% of men. This is a relatively new concept, and I do understand that hypergamy has something to do with that concept, and I understand that the globalization of the dating market has caused this strange dynamic in the dating world to occur. However, that's not necessarily all of hypergamy or everything that hypergamy means. And so I see a lot of people talking about hypergamy, and that's what they have in mind. And I guess I'm just old school. I still look at it and think, okay, women are generally going to be inclined to go up the ladder. When people refer to hypergamy, typically what I hear people saying is education levels, social class, how much money do you have? How much monetary assets do you have? They tend to look at hypergamy in terms of stuff, measurable stuff, which makes sense, but I think that's where a lot of people stop. Are you measurably physically attractive? Are you measurably wealthy? Are you measurably more well educated? Have you reached a higher tier of education? And yes, those are all factors in hypergamy, and people have observed this. But I think there are way too many people out there who assume that this is the end of hypergamy. It's like, okay, this is what it does. Women are always going to shoot up to the top. They're always going to pick the very, very best they can find. They're always going to be willing to trade off whatever guy they're with right now to find something better, which is going to be closer to the top. They're looking for a guy who's a billionaire, who's taller than 6 feet, or at least 6 feet tall, who's got, all these features and drives a fancy car and has, at least one doctorate. You get the idea. Without realizing that hypergamy is, I think it's more than that. Feel free to educate me. I know you won't be able to stop yourselves. But yeah, I think it's more than that. I think that hypergamy plays into every aspect of a dating relationship, or even any kind of sexual interaction between a man and a woman. When a woman sizes up a man, she's sizing up not just his how much money he has. She's sizing up how smart he is, how competent he is, how well does he have his shit together. When I think about my experiences with hypergamy or what I understand of hypergamy, I look at it and say, okay, You have to pick a co-pilot in your life, somebody who's going to be beside you, watching your back, helping you navigate the world. You know, you might as well launch a rocket ship into space and be able to take one other person with you to keep the damn thing running. Who do you want? Do you want someone who's going to be an idiot in space with you in this stupid rocket ship? Or do you want someone who's actually competent? That's my idea of hypergamy. That's kind of the idea that I still run with. I understand there's hypergamy going wild. I understand that there's the global sexual marketplace and this increasingly heightened idea of what a decent average man ought to be, which is unrealistic. One might say that women have been dealing with unrealistic standards for a very long time when it comes to beauty, and women are more than happy to complain about that. Oh my gosh, you know, I'm a beautiful woman with my paunchy belly and my flabby arm flaps, and you need to accept me for being a beautiful woman because those women you see on the magazine simply aren't real. They've all been airbrushed and they definitely don't look like that, even though as a stripper I can guarantee you that there are women who look exactly like that because I've seen them many times. um Maybe not like all the magazines, but there are definitely women who look like they stepped right off the pages of a magazine cover. um Maybe this is men's challenge. Maybe eventually men are going to talk about how, you know, that's an unrealistic standard of what a man should be, because I mean some men are already talking about it. Here's a thing that I see too many men complaining about, though, when it comes to hypergamy. They complain about hypergamy. Frequently I'll see, you know, MGTOW guys. It's not always MGTOW guys, but, you know, a lot of MGTOW guys. I see them talking about how women are backstabbing hypergamous bitches, and they say hypergamous like it's an insult. And this is human sexuality. This is how we operate. This is how humans operate. And I think that men, as much as they would criticize hypergamy, don't realize how woven through overall human sexuality hypergamy is as an element of our sexuality. Women are attracted to men who are smarter than themselves, stronger than themselves, faster, better jobs, better education. Obviously, those are the ones that come to mind for everybody. But, you know, maybe better at socializing. That was one of the things that I was very attracted to in my husband. It was like, oh, thank God, he's got social skills. I'm very weak in this area. He can fortify me. You know, better at things. Women seek out these better elements in men. And that's another thing with hypergamy. Like, that's the thing that men who complain about hypergamy nonstop fail to realize. You hate hypergamy in women until a woman chooses you. And then maybe you don't hate it so much. When a beautiful woman that you find attractive as a potential mate comes to you and looks up to you and is attracted to you, suddenly hypergamy isn't so bad. When a woman who is attractive to you as a man stays with you because she's attracted to you and chooses you above other men because she's attracted to you, well, then you're not complaining about hypergamy so much. When she stays with you because you're the best option that she saw for herself, well, then you're not complaining so much. I noticed that my husband does not complain about hypergamy. We look at the dating situation, the way online dating has changed the dating marketplace and the sexual marketplace, and we both kind of look at that and say, wow, that's something, and that's not so good. But he doesn't complain about hypergamy in his life because a very hypergamous woman came to him and chose him above all other men, to the exclusion of all other men. There are various animals in the world that when you have a female of that species that is receptive sexually. She will mate with any male that comes into contact with her. She's not choosy. She's not hypergamous. She'll mate with anything that comes by that happens to have a matching set of genitalia. It's like, oh, you and then you. I had a cat once that got pregnant and delivered 2 separate litters of kittens because she'd gotten pregnant by 2 separate male cats while she was in heat. I loved that cat, but she was kind of a slut. Human females are choosy. They're hypergamous. They select the very best that they can get. I think when people talk about hypergamy these days, especially in a non-biological sense, a non-scientific sense, they're talking about women who will leave their partner for another partner, a preferable partner, a superior partner. And I think they think that extends all the way into marriage, and that this is a very normal thing for women. That a woman will marry a man, but if a better man just kind of happens along, she'll just completely leave the man she married and wander off after the better man. And maybe I've just been very, very lucky in that I married a man that I consider to be superior superior as a compatible partner to me, to any of the other men that I've met in my life. But I haven't been tempted to just wander off when someone better comes along. And I would put better into into some little air quotes there, because honestly, I don't think I've met anyone better. I've met wonderful men. I continued dancing after I met my husband, so I met many men after I met my husband. Probably thousands of men. But I never met anyone with whom I felt so compatible. And so I don't necessarily worry about meeting other men, in the sense that I was extremely hypergamous up until the point that I met my husband, and then my hypergamy had served its purpose. It had given me what I sought: a compatible mate, a good mate, an extremely viable mate. I didn't need more than that. And I think a lot of men, a lot of young men, I think, but a lot of these guys who are very angry at women and very, women are cheating, backstabbing, hypergamous bitches, fail to realize that hypergamy serves a purpose. We weed out anyone who is not the very best compatible mate for ourselves. And I think some women have a very overbloated understanding of their own beauty and sexual value. I think we peak at about 23. 23 is when I met my husband, by the way. We don't stay young and beautiful and fresh and pretty forever. And I think there are a lot of women out there who get all that attention and all that sexual interest from potential mates when they first, get out into the dating market, and they assume that it's going to be that way forever, and it isn't, which is unfortunate, because then they end up single in their late 30s, and they don't understand why. And not all women who are single in their late 30s are single in their late 30s because of that. But, it happens often enough. But hypergamy serves a purpose. We aren't like my cat that got pregnant from multiple other male cats, because we just aren't particularly choosy and we're having sex with anybody that comes along that just happens to be in the vicinity. We are choosy. That's part of being hypergamous, being choosy, being selective. And men complain about it up until the point that a woman chooses them and stays with them because they're compatible and they finally found what they were searching for. I found a man I was compatible with. He was what I was searching for. We've had 3 children now. If we're very lucky, we'll get to have another one. And that's all I needed. That's what I was looking for. Why would I leave that? He's competent. He's intelligent. He's able to meet our needs as a family. He's able to be there for the kids as a father figure. He's able to keep a roof over our heads. We have food. We're not starving. I don't understand what more a person might want. And maybe that's a limitation to my own perception. I just don't understand what more a person could ask for. I have a partner. That's what you ask for. Life is hard. Life is unpredictable. Things fall apart unexpectedly. But you have a partner. There was a gentleman. I had an on-again, off-again relationship. It wasn't even that. It was a very casual relationship. It was a friends with benefits kind of relationship, really. And I was interested in him, and he was not particularly interested in me. And I told him that I was going to go and look for something more, something deeper. If he wasn't interested in me, I was going to keep looking until I found what I wanted. And he said he was okay with that. So I kept looking, and I didn't find anything for a long time, and then I met my husband one day. And we talked together, and we hung out together, and we spent hours and hours of our time just getting to know one another. And one day, after not hearing from me for about a month, my friend with benefits calls me up and asks how I'm doing, and I said, "Oh, I'm doing good. I'm going out to watch a sunset with, this guy that I've been talking to," which ended up being our first date, by the way. And he's like, at this point, my friend with benefits is like, "Oh, so it's a date." And I was like, "It's not a date. We're just going out. We're going to see a sunset. We've been talking about sunsets lately, so we're going to go see one." And he's like, "Yeah, it's a date." The next morning, he called me up and asked me if he could move in with me, because I had a big apartment that I didn't use all the space in, and I had offered him, like, "Hey, would you like a roommate, because I've got this big apartment, I have all this space, I don't use it, would you like to stay?" He was like, no, it seems too committed. He calls me up after my first date with my husband, asked me if I still wanted a roommate, and I said no. I'm in a relationship now. He was very angry at me. He was upset. Not angry, but he was very upset. He felt like he'd missed out on our relationship. He felt like I'd left him and abandoned him and cheated on him. And we were friends with benefits. I had made it extremely clear to him that if he wasn't going to commit to me, I was going to go and find somebody who would. And I did. And he got kind of screwed over in that situation. I gave him every possible warning. And then I found somebody better. That's hypergamy. All is fair in love and war. You play the game to win it. There's so many people who are like, "Oh no, I'm a nice person, I'm compassionate." Not when you're dating. I share with other people. Yeah, that's nice. When you're dating, when you're selecting a mate, you take the best that you can get for yourself. And you walk home with it. Or it doesn't count for anything. Too many women will bang some fantastic guy, but they can't keep him. That's not the game I was playing. I played for keeps. I found the best that I could. Maybe just a step up from me. Maybe a couple steps. And that was all I was asking. And I haven't looked for anything more than that, because that was all I needed. Hypergamy can be very good if it's not taken to extremes. Like all the elements of human sexuality, really. If you take a thing to an extreme, it's never going to be good. Anyway, I'll talk to you guys later.